Hello there, lovely folks of YouTube. Ren here. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and of course, it was not windy until I started. Now it's blowing my notes everywhere. I am in a rather disused part of my yard. Most of you probably, like, this is an angle y'all probably have never seen before. This is like the weird back corner where I, like, store my wheelbarrow and have my compost bins and all the weird stuff like that. And this plant is here for a reason. This is stinging nettles. The Latin binomial is Urtica dioica. So, stinging nettle obviously gets its name from little barbs. I'm not going to touch this plant because I am not wearing gloves. Do not touch this plant without gloves. But the entirety of the stems and the undersides of the leaves have these teeny, teeny, tiny little, almost like clear needles on them. And those are actually like little silicate needles that act like hypodermic needles that will inject histamine into your skin. And if you've probably heard of antihistamines as being like, to prevent allergies. Histamine is the chemical that's in our body that causes an allergic reaction, causes redness, swelling, rash, itching, pain, all of those things. So touching this plant will do that to you. Excuse me. It's the pollinating right now, so there's a lot of pollen around. Even though I'm not allergic to most of them, just the sheer quantity of it getting in your system is just killer. Anyway, obviously, because of this particular nature of the plant, most people consider this to be a very noxious weed. However, this is also one of the most delicious early spring greens you can have in your garden. It is edible. It's delicious. I've eaten it many times. It makes a wonderful tea. Both cooking and drying the herb will deactivate its sting. So that's why we grow it. It is a perennial. Grows up to, they say 3 to 7 feet. Mine usually gets up to about 3 feet, which is about this tall. 7 feet is very tall. I've never seen one grow that big, but theoretically it could grow that big. Mine is usually about 3 feet. It does grow in zones 4 to 10. Will take some sun. Part shade is also fine. Mine is getting sun right now. It gets sun in the morning and shade the rest of the day, and it is fine with that. It is happy. It's beautiful. This is its second year growing here. It's loving it. I'm loving it. It's fine. Here where I live in Virginia, we're kind of on the warmer side, being zone 7. I do see this plant mostly in woodlands, where it would get even more than just part shade. It gets dappled shade all day. The main thing that this plant needs, and the reason why it grows in woodlands here, is it needs a really good, moist, rich soil. So if you have a dry, rocky area, you're not going to be able to grow this plant. This plant loves this spot here, like I mentioned. It's right by my compost bins, and like spare compost gets spilled here all the time. It freaking loves it. Loves it. So, yeah. Moist, rich soil, definitely. Now, it doesn't need a lot of additional watering, unless, of course, you have one of those really dry areas. It usually does fine with just average water, but it likes to have that really rich, loamy kind of soil to it. So, this plant is very easy to grow. It is usually considered invasive. It will spread by underground rhizomes as well as by seed. So obviously you can grow it through either divisions or by starting it from seed. It's doesn't need any fertilizer at all, as long as it's got that loamy soil. No real additional watering, like I mentioned, and very, very few pests will attack this plant. There are some caterpillars that use this plant as a host plant. Most of them are based in Europe, though. Here in North America, not so much. So, you won't really see much of anything going after this plant. They don't dare. So, harvesting. Basically, this is the perfect time to harvest. You want to make sure you harvest before it starts to go to seed or starts to flower. The flowers are very inconspicuous. There's really, unless you want to harvest the seed, there's no reason to let it go to flower. It's going to spread just fine through the rhizomes anyway. Harvesting, preventing it from flowering, kind of helps to keep it in check, if anything. But you're going to cut back basically the top third of the plant. And like so many other herbs, this is in that sort of mint family, where it has the square stems and the alternating leaves of the Lamiaceae, it will pop back up twice as much as where you cut it. So there's no harm in cutting it back. Cut back the top third, let it grow back, cut it back again, let it grow back, cut it back again, let it grow back. You will have infinite nettle greens. Of course, make sure you are wearing gloves when you do this. You will regret it otherwise. I have never been stung by nettles because I'm careful. My son has gotten stung a couple of times while on walks out in the woods, and he says that it burns like the dickens for about 30 minutes and then it's fine. So, you know, you'll survive. It's not terrible, but it sucks. And if you do happen to get stung by nettles, antihistamines are what you want to take. Benadryl cream is fine. Like I mentioned before, the process of cooking and drying will deactivate the histamines in the plant. As far as the actual little needle barbs, just a good brisk washing will help break those off. So give it a good washing and then cook it if you're going to eat it. Or if you just let it dry, usually those little barbs will fall off on their own in the process of drying. So either of those will help to deactivate the issues that you might have with this plant. So, alright, so let's talk about some of nettles' magical properties. As you can imagine, from the behavior of this plant and the way it lives its life, this is a Mars plant. This is very, very, very much a Mars plant. It is very aggressive go-getter. So this plant is excellent for any kind of protection magic, breaking hexes. It has properties similar to agrimony where it will actually kind of bounce that energy back in a return to sender kind of fashion. So if you have a suspicion that there's something that's fucking with you, this is the plant for them to find out. So obviously ways that you can use this plant, you can put the dried leaves into a bath if you wanted to do sort of like a wash the hexing off. You could take the dried leaves, just, you know, powder them up, crumble them up, and sprinkle it in a barrier around your home or apartment or wherever it is that you live. If you can't do it all the way around, even just doing it across the doorways and the windows or any entryway into the house is fine. You can add nettles into a protective jar that you can, if you have a protection jar in your home, you can add nettles to that to bring that energy in. Great for all of those uses. And if you have agrimony, you can double up the agrimony and the nettle for a double whammy too. This Mars energy in the plant is also going to be very invigorating for your health, and also help to kind of dispel fears that you may have. The tea is probably best used for that, although a bath would also work. But just drinking a cup of nettle tea if you're feeling down, or just, you know, having some trepidation in your life will kind of help bring that Mars energy to be like, yeah, fuck this, I got it, yeah. So that's another good use for this plant as well. And then of course this is, you know, it's a spring tonic. This is one of the very early ways of getting sort of, you know, green leafy vegetables and energy into your body first thing in the year. I have very, very little growing right now in my garden. Like most of the stuff, even the radishes that I started are like a little bit, they got like just one set of leaves on them, but this thing is going like gangbusters. So this is a very good plant for like Ostara celebrations, bringing that energy, the, you know, Aries energy, Aries is ruled by Mars, bringing that kind of energy into your body, into your circle, into your life. At that time of year, it's a good use for that as well. So, and it makes a delicious stuffing for ravioli, just gonna say. Lovely, just lovely. So anyway, I think that's all I have for you on this fun little plant right here. So I hope this video finds you well, and I will see you again soon.